We also talked to Coach Mike Lewis from 3P Boxing 24/7, which is a 24/7 boxing and fitness center. So it's kind of like taking a boxing gym and combining it with Anytime Fitness, and people can come in there and train and boxing and train fitness 24 hours a day. It's a really cool concept. And we talked about how COVID had affected his business because he opened his business up in December and all of a sudden COVID hit 3 months later. So we talked about that. We talked about what it took to get to that point, and we also talked about what he was doing to stay positive and focused throughout this crisis as his business is taking a massive hit. Brother Mike Lewis, how you doing today, man?
Man, I'm doing great, man. I'm doing really good. It's a beautiful day outside, so I'm just relaxing right now, man. Happy to be on here.
Did you get outside with the family at all today, or?
Yep, we just got done taking a walk. We just took a nice long walk outside, and I mean the sky is beautiful. So we just played some catch, went for a nice walk, and just kind of loosened up the body a little bit.
Yeah, I did a home workout this morning, and then I got a 2.5 mile walk in around Lake Nokomis, man. So I got outside, man. I was getting a little crazy. I was getting a little stir crazy yesterday, man.
The only way you're not stir crazy right now is if you're not human.
Yeah, right.
Hey, congratulations, man. You look phenomenal. You look great.
Hey, man, I'm trying to keep up with you, brother.
I'm trying to keep up with you.
I'm trying to keep up with you, man. Shoot. I'm trying to get this weight off so then I can I can hang on one of your classes, man. You know, I can't lift right now, so I've been doing more cardio, so I might actually be in shape to hang out with you one day.
Hey, yeah, man. Well, check me out on Zoom. I do workouts every day. So if you're around and you just need a little bit more motivation, but I've been watching you for the last I've been watching your journey for the last maybe 6 months, a year.
About 6 months, yeah.
6 months. You started eating well.
Yeah.
You started eating well. It looks like you're sleeping well. You gave cigarettes.
Yeah. No smoking.
Right.
Yep. So we're getting it in, man. Getting it in. You know, as you know my son. So the mother of my children passed away in October, and prior to that was kind of my inspiration for kind of having to get my shit together. You know what I'm saying? I had to be around, try to do the best I can to be here for my kids.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always a good decision. It makes things real. Yeah, face that.
Absolutely. Well, I want to welcome a couple of our listeners here. We have Leah Lucy. Miss Leah Lucy's on the call. We got Trace Dunbar, who's an engineer, recording engineer, sound guy, also does some video editing. We got Jeremy on the call, and then we also have Brother Jeffrey. So thanks to you guys that are joining on our live Zoom today. This is our third installment. We do have some people on. We look like we got some people over here on Instagram Live, and we got a couple people here on Facebook Live. So man, we're live in it. We're live in effect, man. We're live in effect. So everybody, I want to welcome you to the third recording episode of the Permanent Lifestyle Podcast. For those of you that don't know what a permanent lifestyle is, Mr. Mike, Coach Mike here just kind of touched on it in terms of saying, man, I can see you're getting your stuff together. And basically, man, I had to get my stuff together, man. And, over the course of many, many years, I had to dig myself out of a hole personally, financially, health-wise. And a lot of things that I've instilled in my life are permanent. These are permanent lifestyle changes. And so what I wanted to do was create a platform that I can share some of my experiences with through other people that I admire, people that I know, people that have been successful, people who've already are the epitome of these kind of beliefs and habits and traits that I've been able to develop over the years. And that's what the permanent lifestyle is all about, man. And that brings us to my guest today. That is Mr. Coach Mike Lewis of 3P Boxing 24-hour fitness boxing gym and fitness center. I'll talk quickly about how I met Mike, and we'll just jump right in. So I met Coach Mike it'll be probably about 9-10 months ago through a mutual friend of ours, Johnny Allen, who has the JK Movement, which is a great nonprofit organization that works with a lot of youth in the Twin Cities area, at risk and underserved communities. Johnny's a great man for the youth. and we had did some photography and some video stuff for Johnny, and Mike had saw some of that, and he was like, "Yo, man," he kind of hit us up on Facebook, and he was like, "Yo, man, who are you guys? I got this gym I'm trying to open up," and he told us about this vision. And at the time, basically, Coach Mike was running his his business out of his garage in Woodbury, man. And Mike, was that 7 years that you had that going?
Actually, it's 8 years now.
8 years. So Mike was running this gym out of his garage, and as he's telling us, he's like, "Look, I got this dream that I'm in the process of solidifying, where I'm opening a commercial retail location. I want you to document that journey." So he hired my company, Vivid Concepts Media, to put together some promo and document that journey. And that's how I met Coach Mike Lewis. And man, I gotta tell you that from the first day I met this guy, he had a ton of energy, ton of positive energy. Like I never really seen this guy, really speak or utter a negative word or negative thought. Probably even when things kind of seemed tight, he was always really upbeat, and that kind of energy radiates with me. And he's definitely somebody that I'm glad that I met, and I like to call him a friend. I think I could call him a friend now. He's a really good guy. So without further ado, I would like to introduce all of our listeners, everybody watching, to Mr. Coach Mike Lewis. I'll give you a hand there, man. Welcome to the show. So Mike, tell me, how did you get started in boxing and fitness?
I got started in boxing and fitness in 1990. It would have been 1995. 1995. I was just a young man walking home. I grew up in Rockville, Illinois. Walking in, I was, just a project kid, poor, whatever. And I was walking home one day, and there was a gentleman. He stopped me, and he just asked me a question like, "Hey, how you doing?" Blah 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 blah. He was a really personal guy, very nice, easy to talk to. His kids were running around in the house, asking for cereal, whatnot. And he just asked a little bit about me, and I told him who I was, and he actually recognized my name from my mother. And so I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Who's your mom?" I was like, "Oh, her name is Gwen Lewis." He says, "Oh yeah, I know your mom. I know your mom." And I said, "Well, what's your name?" And he's like, "My name is Kenny Gould." But he said it like I was supposed to know who he was, right? But at the time, I'm only like 15 years old, so I didn't know who he was. It's late at night. He says, "My name is Kenny Gould." And I said, "Okay." He said, "I was a boxer." And I said, "Oh, that's interesting." And he was telling me a little bit about his career, how he got started, who his coach was. And he was just like, "Hey, have you ever boxed before?" And I told him, "No, I've never boxed before." And he was like, "Hey, let me show you some stuff." And so, at that night, he showed me how to jab, how to cross, how to drive uppercuts. And it was really fun. I had a good time. He's just like, "Hey, did you enjoy that?" I'm like, "Yeah." He said, "Hey, if you come down once a week, come down to my house, knock on the door, I'll teach you how to box." And I said, "Okay." And over the next few months and weeks, I went down to his house on Wednesdays, knocked on his door, and he would take me outside in the yard, and he would teach me the moves of how to box. To make a long story short, when I went to high school, actually I was in middle school, and I remember seeing this poster in the cafeteria, and it started to, like, these connections started to happen. So I'm talking to this guy, he's teaching me how to box, and now I'm thinking about being in the cafeteria when I was in 7th grade, and there was this, on the wall, there was this poster of Rockford's Olympian. It was the Olympic team. I think it was like the 92 team, Summer Olympics or something like that. Well, because this guy was a hometown kid, I remember his face. Now I'm thinking about it. And so I had that initial meeting with Kenny Gould. And then when I went to high school, there was a guy who was like, "Hey, Mike, you want to learn how to box?" And I was like, "Yeah, I want to learn how to box. I kind of learned how to box a little bit." He's like, "Who taught you how to box?" And I said, "Kenny." He said, "Kenny Gould?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Where's Kenny at?" And he started asking me all these questions like, "Oh, my dad used to train him when he was an amateur." I was like, "Really?" And it was just like, it just all kind of made sense. So
Mike, okay. up until that point, did you have any interest in boxing when you were a kid? Like before you met Kenny, was it even on your radar? Were you just
Everybody wanted to either box or learn kung fu.
okay?
Back in the days, man.
Okay.
So I was either gonna be some type of martial artist doing some kung fu or boxing. So,
Right.
but it wasn't really on my radar like that. I remember being a kid watching it with my dad, watching like old Muhammad Ali fights, and watching Sugar Ray Leonard and Hagler and Hearns and stuff like that when I was a kid growing up. But it never dawned on me that I would be into boxing as a career.
What did at a young age? What kind of skills that you were starting to develop at a young age through boxing? What kind of skills were those that you were developing and then how did they transfer to where you're at right now in life? Some of those skills.
Yeah, well, number one, I'm talking now as a coach, just as a coach, as a professional coach who's had an opportunity to train people at all levels, little kids, all the way to the professional athletes that's gone on to win world champion belts and stuff like that. And really, it's being around coaches, being around other men who took an interest in the generation that was coming up. My biggest influence of what I can take from what I was doing when I was a kid to now is that relationship that the older generation had for kids that was on the block or just in the neighborhood.
Sure.
And I can't emphasize enough to you how important it is for us as the old heads kind of now, now I'm 41, to reach back and see that kid and say, hey, you know what? I got something I can show you, or I have something I can teach you. Do you want to learn? Or at least offer that to them, as opposed to not mention it. So it's just building connections with the younger generation is probably the biggest thing.
And then, so what made you, you kind of got introduced to boxing, and so you're kind of going down that journey. You met another guy that wanted to train you. You fast forward here. Let's fast forward to now you're an adult. And how did you get to the part where you became a coach?
You know what? I became a coach from being a good student. That's how it happened. I was kind of like you, where I needed something. I needed an outlet. I needed to lose some weight, get myself together. And I found the boxing gym. At the time in Woodbury, there was only one place in town that taught boxing. And it was a place called Next Level Combat. And I called up reluctantly, out of shape. At this point, I'm 60 pounds overweight from my high school weight. So I'm overweight. But I remember, it was a time that I really liked to move my body. I couldn't do it at 30. I think I was 30. I think it might have been 29, 30, right? I couldn't move my body like I used to when I was in high school. But I knew that when I was in high school, when I was moving and I was doing competitive sports, I felt great. So I went to a boxing gym and it literally changed my life. Yeah. I was there every day. It was like an insatiable appetite to go and train. I was still doing everything else, but now I'm making time. I'm taking time to go to the boxing gym and learn some of the skills that I was learning when I was 16, 17 years old. And that's how I became a boxing coach, really, by being a student that just never, ever left the gym.
I got a question for you. You said you got into boxing, at least as an adult, got back into boxing as an adult to get in shape. What could you tell to the listeners out there? What kind of, that are kind of on the fence, we all know, because I've been there before, we all know we need to get our asses in shape. Obviously right now is a really good time because a lot of us, not all of us, but a lot of us don't have a lot of excuses right now to not go in their living room and do some push-ups or some jumping jacks. So those people that are on the fence, because obviously you've been there, I've been there, people probably sick of hearing me talk. Let me hear it from you, Coach Mike. If somebody's on the fence, what should they do? How can they get in shape? What is the little thing that can kind of turn that key to the ignition to get them going?
That's a great question, man. That's a great question. But if I could just pick one thing is if you talk to someone and they may have everything in the world, right? Everything. They don't have a bill that they worry about, right? But their health is crappy, right? They just have poor health. And you said, hey, if would you trade your money for the ability to be able to get up and run up a flight of stairs and back down? Or would you trade your health would you trade your money for the chance to, walk with your kids again, or go swim in that ocean, or try a marathon, or climb a mountain, right? If you had everything in the world and you don't have any ability to move your body, or your health is crumbled to the point where you can't move your body, most people would trade it.
Right.
They would trade that money for the ability to walk with your child, or the ability to do some of the things that I've named, right?
Yeah.
That's what you focus on when you go into the gym.
Yeah.
You don't worry about how much can you bench press, or how much can you squat. Initially, you don't go in there thinking like that. If you really want to get off the couch and you're on the fence, then think about all of the things that you're grateful for being able to do right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
All the things that you can do right now. And then you say to yourself, you write down, I love being able to do X, Y, and Z. And then you say, okay, well, how can I extend that for as long as I possibly can?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That ability. And that's how you enter the gym, with just the concept of, I'm going to do something today, right now, not when I get my diet right, not when I get the right tennis shoes. Like, I'm going to do something right now today that's going to have a lasting impact on my health in the future.
Yeah.
So when I have grandkids, or if I live long enough to see my great grandkids, I've taken care of my body today to put that in the bank for tomorrow.
Absolutely.
That's how you.
Absolutely. I feel you on that. And like I said, part of my health, part of my permanent lifestyle change was my health. And again, that you touched on it. For me, it was like knowing that the mother of my children was going to pass away at some point from her battle with cancer. I needed to get myself together so I could be there for my kids, because I didn't want to be, I'm 41 too. I didn't want to be 45, 50 and being out of breath just going up 10 stairs. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not cool, and I know a lot of our listeners are in that same boat, man. I think that's a really good point. Would you trade a little bit of your money, a little bit of your time, to have more time with the people that you love and more ability to do more things, right?
Right.
So I got a question for you here. You became a coach because you became a good student. Obviously, you had touched on it earlier. You don't want to help some of the younger people. You just want to, you want to help. You want to give back to your community. So I guess now you're a coach. You're training some people of various skill levels. I know you train some world champions as well. At what point in time are you sitting there saying to yourself, "Well, damn, man, I wanna have my own gym"? How did that come about? And how did that vision come into your head, man?
Man, oh my God. I wish it was that. I wish it worked like that. It didn't work like that, man. It didn't work like that. To be honest with you, truthfully, to have my own gym, it was more of a financial necessity than anything, because everything that I was doing, aside from making money, everything I was doing, I was already doing it. I was doing everything that the gym allows me to do. I was doing it in my basement. I was doing it in my garage. I was doing it at the park. Everything, right? My biggest objective and goal to open up a gym was to just be able to provide for my family, and on a bigger scale, so my wife wouldn't have to work so hard, so I could make sure that my kids could, go to college and, do some of the things that I didn't get a chance to do when I was growing up.
Yeah.
So the move from to get it into a facility, it's just a vehicle. Yeah. It's just a vehicle for me to provide for my family.
At what point though were you? All right, so let me ask you this. When you started training people in your garage, at that moment, did you already have it in your mind that I'm going to get a, commercial retail space? Or were you just, happy at that point, like, hey, I'm just cool starting out in the garage, and then at some point during your journey, the light bulb went off. Like, yo, I can make this bigger and better.
Yeah, yeah. When I was in my garage training, it was I had just started to pick up enough clientele because when you first start something, like a lot of people, they don't start things. Now to decide to do it in my garage, that was really one of my biggest hurdles. I had one other hurdle, but to decide that I was going to open my house to individuals from all walks of life and do it at this is my house.
Yeah.
You know, that was the scariest. That was the scariest thing. That was the hardest decision to make because now I'm exposing my family to everybody. Like people that call on the phone, like, "Hey, yo, I want to train. I don't know who this person is. You know,
Yeah.
Maybe I do. Maybe I don't. Maybe someone said, "Hey, I know you from somewhere else." But that was like the biggest hurdle to actually have small kids and actually train in my house. You know, when you have a home business, or when you have a home business or a garage business, or if you're doing it in your basement, it takes a lot of faith to let people into your personal surroundings to build your goal or to build your dream. And a lot of people will stop there because that's a fear right there. That's a barrier to. If I couldn't overcome that part of my fear, that barrier, then I probably wouldn't have gone on to open a gym. So just having that commitment to saying to myself, well, come rain or shine, this is something that I'm going to do. This is something I want to make happen here right at my house. I don't know how far it's going to go at that point. I don't know.
Right.
It's just a roll of the dice. I have no idea once I say, okay, I'm going to open up my garage and train people in there if it's going to be successful or if it's going to be worth my while. I have no idea of that.
So at what point does the idea pop into your head that you can scale this into a larger facility and out of your house?
You know what? When training in my garage was starting to become less of an option, to be honest with you.
What does that mean? What does that mean?
Yeah, well, I was starting to pick up more clients. Training one person at a time for an hour it took me too long to make the type of money that I needed. So I had to start to multiply. Okay, I need to train 2 people at a time. Okay, now I need to train 3 people at a time. I need to train 4 people at a time, right? And so once it really started to scale up in my garage, where it was just like, you know what, I'm kind of bursting at the seams here at my garage, then I was just like, okay, well, what's the next step?
Mike, I have a question. Sorry to cut you off. I have a question for you. Then how did you get to that point? How did you get to the point where you had, you go from 1 person to an hour where now you're training 10 people in an hour? What did it take for you to get to that point? Because I know a lot of people that start businesses, a lot of people that are thinking about starting businesses. The thought of that kind of work and that kind of grind is intimidating for them and can maybe sometimes turn some people off because they're like, oh man, I'll never get to that point. How did you get to that point where you're training from 1 person an hour to 10 people an hour, multiple hours a day?
There's a couple things. Number one, when you set out to have your own business, you need, it's not like having a 9 to 5. It's like when you have a 9 to 5, you clock in, and when you're done with your job, you're like, whoo, man, I'm good. I'm about to just relax and just go chill and go kick it. But when you build a business, you have like this additional passion, right? I guess that's what we call it. Like this passion, like this desire. So for me, what ended up happening is that my desire and my passion for helping other people learn the martial art of boxing, it spread it to the people I was training. So I grew basically pretty much word of mouth. I didn't have any Google Analytics. I didn't have a marketing budget because I really couldn't market.
Yeah.
I couldn't have cars lined up and down the block. I couldn't put signs outside my house.
You just had to work. You had to grind. You had to work it.
Yeah.
You had to build your business the old school way.
The old school way.
Yeah.
Yep. Just like what you always talking about with the being like real. You build it one person at a time, and then one person's telling another person, and then then people are getting the results, and then all of a sudden you have something that you've grown. It's almost like a baby that you want to take care of.
Did you ever, at any point in time, want to give up, want to quit?
Yeah.
And why? What was it? What was it? Let me ask you. It's a two-part question then. What made you feel like you wanted to quit, and then what did you do to get over that hump and keep pushing forward?
All right. I don't want you guys to take this the wrong way at all, but I'm going to say this, and this is just me just being just straight up real with you guys. It was my wife. My wife. And I say this because my wife almost made me want to quit. And the only reason I'm saying it like that is because she was asking me real questions. You have to understand, I've been a stay-at-home dad for a long time. While my wife worked, she takes care of the bills, right? And I was building something, but it always felt like a hobby, right? There was some corners I wasn't able to turn yet to make the business profitable yet. I still had some barriers that I had to go through. And while I'm going through these barriers, she kind of asked me one day, how long are you going to do this thing?
When are you going to grow up, Michael?
I know you're passionate, and I know you're having fun and everything.
Yeah.
But I'm out here grinding every day, 40 days a week, and it looked like you having a good time out here. And she made me face the reality of this is the really hard part about entrepreneurs and business owners and people that find something that they're passionate about. Is how long do you give your passion a chance to make money, right?
Yeah.
And that's a really tough one. So
how did you turn that corner then? So what was it that how did you get past that? How did both you and your wife get past that moment to where you said, look, babe, I got this, I can do this? And then what was the thing that sparked you to keep pushing?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I got a quote here. I'm gonna read it real quick. Oh, okay. I had read a book by Napoleon Hill. It's called Think and Grow Rich.
Yep, I'm familiar with that book.
And Napoleon Hill said, find a definite purpose and hold on to it until it becomes an obsession, right? Until it becomes an obsession. So, like one of the philosophies of personal success is that thing that feels like a hobby and feels like a hobby, looks like a hobby to someone else because you're not making big dollars.
Yeah.
You do it every day because it's an obsession. It has become an obsession.
Yeah.
So what my wife helped me do is help me see that it wasn't something where like boxing was a plan B and then going back into education was a plan A. So I wasn't like, okay, plan A, go back to school so I can continue to teach here in Minnesota. Plan B, make the business work. Which one am I going to go with? Right?
Yeah.
It was like boxing. Like blinders on. It was like boxing, training, nothing else. It was not, even though I do have other options, but in my mind, it's just like one path.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
And I was voted I was.
So after that conversation, are you saying that your level of focus was ratcheted up a level to, okay, wasn't necessarily, you weren't necessarily playing around with this boxing thing, but you were just kind of doing it to where now it's like, okay, I'm putting all of my everything in here, because if I don't put everything I got into this, I'm gonna lose this dream. It's over.
Right. Exactly. That's exactly what. And I didn't want that to happen. I did not want that to happen one bit because it was too fulfilling to my life. It would have been like watching a part of me die, so when she said that, hey, what are you gonna do here? How are you gonna let me know that you're gonna help take care of the family it was just like, for me, it was like, because I'm going to show you that I can be 100% committed and focused until I reach the goal that I want to reach.
So boom, we hit a turning point now. You know, wife gives you kind of the wake up call. You know, you kind of get a what do they call that for addicts when they have an intervention? Kind of have a business intervention. Like, look, babe, you know, you're gonna have to. We gotta, you know, something's gotta turn the corner here soon. So boom, you're invigorated. You're putting new energy into this. Is that around the time that, okay, you know, things start picking up? Now this other crazy ass idea pops in your head that you're gonna open up a retail location. Okay, so let's talk about that, man. How did that dream become a reality from an idea to where you were able to actually open up this facility in Woodbury back in December? How did you know? Maybe you can give me the couple minute answer to like my vision to the retail location.
Yeah. So my vision to the retail location started with a pen and a paper. Okay, pen and paper, and everybody that I met or ran into, I would show them this scratch of this vision for this gym.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, the ring would be like here, and this is here, and everybody. I mean, everybody. If you had 10 seconds, then I was drawing up. All right, this is the gym. This is what it's gonna look like everywhere. And then what eventually happened is more and more people was like, that's a good idea. Yeah, that's a great idea. And that's what happens. Like, so other people started to kind of, and even my wife, she was like, that would be cool, right?
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, I get this not an ultimatum, but I get this intervention, and then I'm starting to dream. Like, all of these thoughts are starting to come up, and the person that was giving me the intervention was like, you know what? I think you can do that, and that's what happened, man. I drew that gym, the gym that you see now. I probably drew that gym probably 100 times. It's like burned into my head. So that's what happened, man. I drew it and kept saying, yeah, man, that's a good idea.
So explain to the people out there listening that haven't been to the gym or don't know much about it. Can you briefly explain the concept of the gym and what exactly 3P Boxing 24/7 is?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so the concept of the gym was to give just regular folks, give everybody, but mostly regular folks, because there's not a big market for people that want to, basically, I'm just going to say it like this, get punched in the face 3 days a week, all right? 3 or 4 days a week, all right? A couple hours every other day, boom, I'm going to be getting hit, all right? It's not a large market for that, right? So, and I understand that too. I'm a white collar guy. I have a background in education. I didn't let my kids play football because of, concussions and stuff like that. And, people are a little bit more in tune to what risks they're associated with, combat sports. So my focus for the gym was to have a place where 3P Boxing is a place where anybody can go. The guy who always wanted to learn how to box, but you got a white collar job, you can't show up to the gym, you can't show up to work with a black eye, right? Or the young lady that wants to feel more confident going into college, or the mom that wants to put the child in a martial art, but they already tried karate and the kid didn't like karate, and they want to do something different. So that's what 3P Boxing is.
What about the 24-hour? Where does that fit in everything then?
Yeah, well, that came from the 24-hour thing. I had that idea with having the 24-hour boxing gym when I was over at Next Level being a student. Remember I was in there?
Yeah, yep.
They had to literally kick me out of the gym at night. They closed at 8:30, and I was there until 8:30. I was that guy. Like, yo, Mike, you gotta leave, man. And I was just like, can I have a key?
Right.
And the guy was like, no. And I was like, man, it would really be nice if I could really have a key and I could train 24/7. And that's where the idea for the 24/7.
So your boxing gym now, the one that's open in Woodbury, which is a beautiful facility, by the way. I've had the opportunity to film it and take photography there through my company, Vivid Concepts Media. So thank you for hiring us to do that work. It's a beautiful facility. is the concept kind of like taking a boxing, traditional boxing gym and like Anytime Fitness and kind of putting it together where people can come and go and they have 24-hour access to the gym, but so they can lift weights there, they can get on the exercise bike, but they can also get training sessions with you during their regular training hours, correct?
Yep, that's exactly what it is. Yep, that's exactly what it is.
And it's the first of its type, right?
Huh?
It's the first of its type here in the state?
This is the first one, and I think there's only 2 or 3 in the entire country.
Okay. So this is something cutting edge, for you guys out there listening, think about it like this. Here you got a brother that grew up in the hood in Illinois, right? 15 years old, walking down the street. Some old guy comes and says, hey, man, you want to learn to box? It turns out this guy's like an Olympian champion, right? And, you fast forward and here we got a guy who has a background in education, but a passion for boxing and the sport and the art and the science and the fitness behind it. And now here we are in 2020 and he has a gym that is open and it's like one or two of a kind in the entire country. That's an amazing accomplishment, Mike. That's an amazing accomplishment. And just to think, maybe a couple years ago when Wifey has that come to Jesus talk with you, it could have never got to this point. So how did you, let's talk about, let's touch quickly, like what is the mindset that it takes for somebody to achieve a goal that's significant, like opening your business or a one of a kind type idea? Like you touched on how you had to get really serious, but what are like some of the general characteristics that people need? And this isn't just to be successful as a business owner. How do those skills also transition into just daily life?
Yeah, absolutely, man. That's a great question. And one of the most, I'll start here. One of the most highly researched things in the world, especially in the United States, is success. That's the most, you can go to a library and it's like a whole section of success tips, topics, motivational speakers. And now with the internet, you can go online and listen to a guy like, what's the guy's name? I can't remember his name right now.
The guy I listen to, Gary Vee, maybe?
That young guy, young African-American guy, that he's always yelling, yo, you gotta be thirsty, you gotta be hungry.
The little Jamaican dude? You talking about the little Jamaican?
I'm gonna come back to it. Great. But the dude is real cool. He got great motivational. He said, if you want to be successful as bad, you gotta be willing to be successful as bad as you want to breathe. And that's the whole thing. Before you can really start to kind of dig into like business, you have to change your philosophy on life and your philosophy on what it means to be successful and what it means, like
Mike, what does being successful mean to you?
Well, success means, accomplishment as a result of your own efforts. So, accomplishing something as a result of what you decide to do, nobody else, what you decide to do. And that's to me, that's what success means.
Absolutely.
Having something that you want to do that you decide that I'm going to make this work. So that's really the first thing for me, was just to kind of change my psychology of how to be successful, change my psychology on what it means to fail. That's the first one right there,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And because school kind of programs you that if you get that F, that means you did bad. That's kind of like dang, so you want to, you sometimes don't want to try. You're like, I failed math, so I'm not good at math. I'm good. I'm not doing math, right? And school can sometimes set you up to actually become a failure because you never learn the idea, the process as, okay, no, don't worry about that test. Look, this is what you need to do. You need to know that you can learn it, but you're going to need a little bit more time. You got to work on it every day. Let's work on that same test you just failed every day. And if you could do that, you could probably, ace the test.
Yeah.
But they say you failed that test, okay, on to something else.
Yeah.
Right? And in your mind, you haven't rectified the fact that you failed that test. You don't know better yet.
What I like about your answer is nothing that you said had anything to do with money. It had nothing to do with any kind of monetary value. And I think one of the biggest problems that faces us here in America is that we equate success to money we equate success to material things. And every time I listen to a motivational speaker that is in fact rich and is in fact what stereotypically is deemed successful, they never talk about money as success, right? Most of the successful quote unquote successful people I read or follow, they talk about failure, right? And how learning to deal with failure is the true key to success, right? So I love that you touched that, man. I love that you touched that. So I got another question for you. You know, with the business kind of being how it is with coronavirus, I know a lot of business owners are dealing with this, you know, with this situation, the loss of clientele, the loss of money. And I've noticed an uptick in the way that you are using social media to try to, you know, counter that. So tell me what's going on with your social media? What's the thought process behind that?
Yeah, the thought process, social media is interesting for a couple reasons. Number one, it gives you exposure that's cheap. It's really cheap exposure. And that's great because a lot of times that's a big barrier. I wanted to put something in the newspaper and it was going to cost me like, you know, $1,000. I was going to do something with a magazine and it's like, no, it's going to be thousands of dollars, magazines, newspapers and stuff like that. So social media is good because it's a fairly cheap way to advertise and promote yourself. And what I've just been doing is the people that already rock with me, they love it because they get to see it. I'm doing it for them. I can work out by myself, but I know that I want to share with them that I want to share this experience with them. You know, so I use social media just to share my experience with them. I understand. I can relate. You're at home. The weights are gone. The treadmill is gone. I do all of my workouts here in my basement. This is where I started, in my basement. So everything is gone. Strip away everything, right? And at the end of the day, it's about building that connection with the people that follow you, building a connection with the people who have seen you. So that's all I want to do.
What do you think? Well, what do you think the long-term implications are by doing that for your business?
I think it's a good thing. I really do. I think it's a good thing. It's really a good thing because I hope that when the gym actually reopens, I'm hoping that the people who have seen me with this uptick of information will come and say, hey, no, I saw you on Facebook and blah, blah, blah. I remember, because that's the type of stuff that impacts me too. Yeah. Like I see you and I see you do every day, you're giving something motivational, giving something to us, right? And I know a lot of that you're giving to us. This is something that's either affects you personally, correct, and you feel like, you know what, I'm going to share this with everybody else, right? And that's what it's about. I'm doing the same thing, but I just do it through my martial art or boxing. But I'm hoping that people who maybe never met me may see something, may see a clip and say, oh, man, I know that guy, you know? So that's what it's all about.
And the reason why I want to bring that up is because, you know, I work with a couple different business organizations. Some of it's networking, some of it's as a board member. And, you know, we're working to I'm going to be doing actually a Zoom call through the Eastside Area Business Association on Thursday at 2 p.m. You should hop on that call. It'll be really good for you because it's going to be all business owners here in the Twin Cities areas. And there's going to be some major players like St. Paul Port Authority. We might have some council members on this call. One of the things I'm going to touch on is marketing, how you can keep your business relevant. And what I'm hearing you say is, look, it's kind of like you just said, they take your treadmill away, they take this away. For you, they take your business away.
Everything.
But you're not on that couch crying, right? You're not on that couch pouting. You're saying, okay, I have to adapt to the situation and apply my adaptation to the situation. You know, where does that come from, man? How do you have that kind of positive energy, you know, and how does that carry you through life, and how could that carry other people through life?
Yeah, you know what? Just share, man. You know what? We're more the same than we are different. I really truly believe that, and we all want the same things out of life. Well, you know, generally speaking, we all want the same things. We want, you know, health, happiness, you know, all of our needs met, right?
Yeah.
And one big thing of meeting our needs is being connected with people, right? It's hard for me to get everything I want without having other people that's passionate about the things that you want. Not everybody wants to sell cars, but I need a car. But you can make a connection with that car salesman that you can end up being your best friend. So
Yeah.
it's just in my mind, it's just like no matter what we're going through, we can share that information, and somebody out there, you never know who it is, but something that you can say could connect you with someone in a way that you never even thought. It's the weirdest thing. I get text messages. I got a text message from someone in Florida that was like, "Yo, I'm watching you every day at noon, working out. Yo, thank you for that, man." And I'm like, I don't know this person.
Yeah.
Do you get some stuff like that?
I've been getting, since I started posting, I would say lately, like really lately, like the last 2 weeks, I've been getting crazy messages, man. Like, there's a gal in Puerto Rico that was like, she's military. And she's like, every day on LinkedIn, I do a lot of work on LinkedIn. That's where there's a lot of organic attention at. And man, she was like, yo, you're inspiring me. I had a lady, oddly enough, she's like, I've been wanting to post about my life and something that I went through, and because of you, I'm gonna post today. So, and I didn't know what she was gonna post, and she posted about an abusive relationship she just got out of, and now she's just on and running. And she messaged me, "I'm so happy I met you on LinkedIn. My husband's happy that I met you on LinkedIn because you inspired me to get this off of my chest and share this with the rest of the world." So.
Right. And so because I know that that's a possibility that can happen, that's my motivation. I really enjoy sharing and being a part of humanity, being a part of humanity, because you never know who you're going to affect or how you're going to affect their lives. And it helps. It's good for me too. It's good for me too. So it's sharing. And that's all it is. Just sharing what you have. Just share it.
So, with anybody out here listening, I want to ask this question, and then we'll take some questions in the chat box. So if any of you guys are out there on the Zoom call and you have a question for Coach Mike, it's related to getting in shape, related to boxing, related to just life in general, please go ahead and type that in there. I'll ask Coach Mike. Anybody on Facebook want to send a question, go ahead and put that in the chat box. I think there's one up there that I might be able to see. Same here with LinkedIn. You can put a comment if you have a question. Coach Mike, looks like my son Ashton's on the Instagram, on the live Instagram. You remember Ashton? You trained him.
Okay, yeah. Ashton, I'll never forget Ashton. He showed up for school. I was like, bro. And then I'm like, yo, I saw where he lived. I'm like, oh my God, you came over here before school.
Yeah,
I couldn't believe it. But yeah, I know your man. He's a good kid.
I want to ask you this last question here. For anybody listening right now that, we kind of touched this earlier, but I want to reiterate the fact. I want to reiterate this again. For anybody that's listening right now that's dealing with doubt, that little bit of self-doubt that creeps in. And I know you probably had it before. I have it. I struggle with it. We all struggle with self-doubt. What word of advice can you give? And not the cliche, like some real, lack of a better term, some real shit. What can you tell someone who's dealing with some doubt that's holding them back from maybe quitting that job and starting their own business, or posting something on social media, or calling that ex-boyfriend or that ex-friend and burying the hatchet, like, or hey man, just getting themselves in shape for their family and their children, okay? What words of advice can you give to somebody that's dealing with that self-doubt, that insecurity?
Well, man, that's a great question, man. That's a great question. But if I could say anything, it's like you have to just decide that is what you want to do. And life is kind of like driving down the street with dark road, and you really can't see. Your high beams only can take you so far, right? So that initial push to step out and start that car and go down that road, it's going to be dark. You're not going to know what's around you, but the more you do it, the more the road becomes available that you can see. So I say just decide that that's something that you want to do, and it could be at any level. And then also don't be afraid if your dream, if your goal is real small, It's okay. Like it doesn't have to be this grand big thing. Just start small because it's like a nursery, right?
What's an
So
example of a small goal? Give me examples so somebody out there might have a better understanding of what you mean by that.
yeah, so to be honest with you, when I started my boxing business, I had never made any money before. I had never made any money. You want to know what my goal was? My first year of being a boxing coach. My first goal was to make $1. $1. That was it. I wanted to make $1 because I never made $1 before.
Right.
Up until that point, I was just it was free. I was just that guy. Hey. So when I started to write down my business plan and started to say, okay, wait, I think I can leverage this more. I think I can get more out of my goals. I think I can get more out of myself. I don't know if I can, but let me see if I can just make $1.
Yeah.
$1, and or just one client. And once that $1 or that one client let me know that it was possible. Yeah. And I say, okay, if I can do one client, if I can have one client, then maybe I can have two. Well, let me just try to get two clients this week. You know what I'm saying? So it wasn't like, well, once I start this at-home business, I'm going to train 10 people. I'm going for 10 people at one time. I'm going to do 20. It was just like, just one.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like, that's my idea. You're not going to know if you can get that one unless you try. And the first step might just be getting your business cards. Start there. You just grab some business cards and say, you know what, I'm going to write my business. I'm going to give me some business cards. I'm going to hand out one. And when somebody say, yeah, you're going to remember me because this is going to be my idea. So just start small and just know that it just takes time to get to where you want to go. It's like that for everybody.
Do you think that people maybe get caught up in going too big too soon, where they have some, like let's take a weight loss goal. For me, I was like, well, I'm just gonna lose I have an overall goal of 60 pounds, but I'm doing it at 10 pounds at a time, because if I just focus on 60, I'm not gonna achieve that goal. I'm gonna get frustrated. Do you think people tend to maybe go for the like you just said, you didn't start talking about I'm gonna have 10 people in 1 hour. You just talked about just having one person. Do you think that people don't know how to do micro goals and they focus too much on the macro?
Yeah, absolutely. Because you can't do the macro goals until your mindset is right. Once your mindset gets right, you learn how to handle frustration, learn how to write your goals down, learn how to handle and deal with failure. Physically, mentally, you're not really able to handle that disappointment of not hitting that goal or not reaching that goal. The frustration sets in, and then subconsciously you start to kind of, I didn't hit that goal, So when you have micro goals, it helps you. It gives you a chance for your confidence to build for that next goal that you want to set. So little micro goals. Write down your goals. If it's anything, then you got to write down your goals. And most people, they are scared to write down their goals because they feel like they may mess up or they may not reach them. But that's not the whole point. The whole point of writing down your goals is that you have to see it. You have to see it with your own eyes and see that it is a possibility. And as you write down your goals and the more goals that you reach, you start to pull in people. It's like the law of attraction. You're familiar with that, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's like once you start to write down your goals, it's almost like the universe you start to pull things towards you.
Absolutely.
That align with your goals. And then everything that's outside your goals is like white noise. You don't even see it anymore. You don't even see it. So you write down your goals, you see it, and then it's like the universe starts attaching those things that you need to accomplish your goals so you can get to that next level. So start with your goals and make them small and then build on there.
How should somebody that feels like their whole life has been a failure, they're always fucking up and they're always making mistakes, how does somebody like that learn to deal with micro failures? How do they learn to deal with something like that?
Yeah, well, if you're fortunate enough, like your son, he's lucky, he has you. He can say, "Hey, Dad, well, I'm dealing with some issues," and then because you're wiser and you've been through more experience, you can navigate through that. I lost my father when I was 16 in a car accident, so I never had a dad to kind of to talk to me about these different things I'm going through. Right, my dad was, dad's story is that's another story.
Sure.
But if you don't have anybody in your life, you go to the library and read and get autobiographies of people. I really highly recommend that for people that's dealing with people that they wish were in their lives, and you don't have those people. You just got to go to the library and start opening up some of these books, and you'll see that a lot of people that have made it. They start out with a lot less advantages than what you have. So that's kind of like my goal. If you have access to a parent, then talk to mom or dad. If you don't have that, then try to find yourself a mentor.
Yeah.
In the field or industry that you're excited about, and they'll love to talk to you about it. If somebody called me like, "Hey, Mike, I want to start a business in my garage, a boxing gym in my garage," man, I'm gonna have so many words for them. I'll give it away.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if you don't have anybody like that, then with the use of the internet, start just doing your research and reading what you can in the industry that you're in until it starts to make sense. And then, before you know it, you'll run into a mentor, because the law of attraction is going to kind of help you.
Yeah.
And then before you know, you got somebody sitting right here like, I just want to do that. It's just amazing how life happens.
All right, Mike. So I want to wrap it up here. I don't have anybody. I don't see any questions now. So let me ask you this: where can people find you at on social media? Where can we find you at?
Social media at 3P Boxing, 24/7 on Instagram. I'm on Twitter too, but Twitter is kind of funny. I don't know.
Yeah.
I haven't cracked the Twitter code
yet.
Yeah. But anything 3P Boxing, 247. That's the number 3, the letter P like Paul, boxing. That was my original. That was my original gym, and then we added the 247 to let people know. Okay, no, it's not just the studio; it's the 24/7 there as well. So 3P Boxing, Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. I tried to keep it real simple. 3P Boxing. That's where you find me.
And your website is
3pboxing247.com.
And moving into the future, what can we expect from 3P Boxing? What can we expect from 3P Boxing?
Honestly, I really would like to find people that can help me scale the business. I think we have something that's unique. And so I've written down my goals, and if I could find people, because I don't know, at this level, I think I've gone as far as I can completely by myself. Like, I needed you, right?
Yeah.
I can't do the video. It's some stuff I don't know. So if I can put together a team that can help me grow the business, I think 3P Boxing could be like the next National Karate. Anywhere that a National Karate is successful, I think 3P Boxing can be successful. Or anywhere that a title boxing is, a 3P Boxing can be successful. It's a different market, but it comes from a good, authentic place. So my goal now, maybe you guys will see me in a different state, or maybe a couple other places around the state. That would be my ultimate goal. That's what I'm working on now.
Awesome. And last question, just a follow up on that for my people. Hold on, we do got a question here. What is the most important trait or moral you want your children to carry? Ooh, good question.
That's a great question. The most important thing is, to be honest with you, to be respectful of your elders and be kind to people. That's probably, be respectful and kindful, especially to your elders, because your elders can, the other generation that has that wisdom, they can teach you so much. So don't blow off people that have been around for a while, man. I mean, they've seen a lot. So if they could remember to, have faith, but also be a good human being and be respectful to their elders, because you can learn a lot from the people who've been here before you.
Yeah. And I've met your kids. They're great kids, man. Very well behaved, very intelligent. Your son is, I can tell he's probably going to be the one that builds your business, but he'll probably do something like IT, some tech thing, and your daughter.
My daughter's the only one that looks like to tell me.
Yeah. So I don't know.